Every appliance salesman in America is counting on you to believe one thing: that used means risky, and that new means safe. That the machine sitting in a stranger's garage is a gamble, and the one shrink-wrapped on the showroom floor is a sure thing. We are here to tell you that is exactly backwards. The most dangerous appliance you can buy today is the brand new one. And for 6 specific categories, buying used is not just the smarter financial decision. It is the only decision that makes any engineering sense at all. Why new is the worst investment you can make? Here's the problem that nobody in the appliance industry wants to say out loud. The machines being manufactured today are not the best versions of those machines. They are the cheapest versions that the engineering team could get approved by the compliance department and still put a recognizable brand name on the box. The golden era of American appliance manufacturing ran roughly from 1950 to 1985. During that window, companies like Maytag, Whirlpool, and General Electric were competing on one metric above all others: how long will this machine last? Longevity was the selling point. Repairmen were respected professionals. And the idea that a washing machine could become a disposable item would have been considered an engineering failure and a corporate embarrassment. Then the private equity firms arrived. Then came the race to offshore manufacturing. Then came the energy regulations that forced engineers to gut proven mechanical systems and replace them with fragile electronic ones. Then came the sealed bearings and the plastic tubs and the motherboards mounted next to heating elements. The machines that rolled off the line in 1972 are structurally superior to the machines rolling off the line today. That is not nostalgia. That is metallurgy. That is the difference between a steel gear and a plastic gear, between a mechanical timer and a circuit board that fries in a humid laundry room. When you buy used in the right categories, you are not buying someone else's problem. You are buying a machine that was built when manufacturers still had something to prove. The dryer is the single most forgiving appliance ever manufactured. It is also the one that proves, beyond any reasonable argument, why the used market destroys the new market in terms of value. Here is why. A dryer is a mechanical drum, a heating element, and a timer. That is the entire machine. There is no sealed refrigerant loop. There is no complex water valve system. There is no inverter motor with a proprietary circuit board that costs $400 and takes 6 weeks to ship. It is a steel barrel that spins in a box of warm air. A first-year engineering student could draw the schematic on a napkin. The dryers built in the 1980s and 90s were made with steel drums, cast iron pulleys, and mechanical timers that clicked through their cycles like a clock. When something broke, you opened the back panel, identified the component, and ordered the part for $12. There was no diagnostic code. There was no error screen. There was no customer service hotline in another country asking you to describe the blinking light pattern. Today, manufacturers like Samsung and LG have taken this beautifully simple machine and injected it with sensors, steam cycles, and Wi-Fi connectivity. They have replaced the mechanical timer with a printed circuit board that sits in a warm, vibrating environment and fails on a predictable schedule. They have replaced the steel drum support rollers with cheap nylon wheels that crack and squeal within 3 years. When you are shopping used, look for a Maytag or Whirlpool gas dryer built before 2005. Look for the ones with the rotary dial and no digital display. These machines are everywhere at estate sales and on secondhand marketplaces for $50 to $100 because people replace them when the drum light burns out and they cannot figure out how to change the bulb. That is your opportunity. These machines have another 15 years of life in them. A used dryer from 1995 is a better machine than a new dryer from 2025. That sentence should make you angry. It should also make you a smarter shopper. The stand mixer. There is a KitchenAid stand mixer sitting in a garage somewhere near you right now. It is probably avocado green or harvest gold. It probably has a small crack in the paint on the tilt head, and the person selling it has no idea what they actually have. KitchenAid manufactured their iconic stand mixer with an all-metal gearbox and an all-metal motor housing from the 1930s straight through to the mid-2000s. The internal gears were made of hardened steel. The housing was die-cast aluminum. The machine weighed 27 pounds because it was built like a tool, not a toy. Bakers use these machines professionally. Restaurants use them. They ran for 40 years without needing anything more than a grease replacement in the gearbox. Then, in the early 2000s, KitchenAid was absorbed into the Whirlpool corporate structure. The mandate came down, cut the cost. The steel gears were replaced with nylon composite gears. The die-cast housing was swapped for cheaper aluminum alloy. The motor winding quality dropped. The new machines look identical to the old ones because the design is iconic and they know you associate that shape with quality. But the machine inside that retro shell is a shadow of what it used to be. The model you want is any KitchenAid with the model number prefix K or KSM made before approximately 2002. These units have the metal gearbox. When you find one, have a repair technician replace the grease in the gearbox with food-grade grease. That job costs $20 and extends the life of the machine by another decade. You can find these units for $40 to $80. KitchenAid sells the same mixer today for $450 with plastic gears. The math is not complicated. The chest freezer. The chest freezer is the most underrated appliance in the American home. It is also the one where the difference between an old machine and a new machine is the most dramatic and the most consequential. A chest freezer has one job: keep things cold. It is a box with insulation and a compressor. The physics have not changed since the 1950s. And yet, manufacturers have found a way to engineer failure into even this humble appliance. The modern chest freezer uses a rotary compressor wrapped in a plastic housing that is glued, not bolted, to the frame. The thermostat is a digital sensor connected to a small circuit board. The lid gasket is made of a thin vinyl that cracks and hardens after 3 years of thermal cycling. When the digital thermostat fails, and it will fail, the replacement part is either discontinued or priced at a level that makes the repair irrational. The chest freezers, made between 1970 and 1995, used a different philosophy entirely. Heavy-gauge steel shells. Fiberglass insulation packed so dense the lid felt like lifting a bank vault. Mechanical thermostats with a simple dial. Compressors wrapped in cast iron housings that sat in an oil bath and ran with a low, steady hum for 30 consecutive years. You can buy one of these machines at an estate sale for $75 to $150. Before you buy, test it. Plug it in and let it run for 20 minutes. If the compressor kicks on without hesitation and the interior gets cold, buy it without a second thought. These machines will store your food, your harvest, and your emergency supplies for another 20 years. And when the power goes out, that thick insulation holds temperature for hours longer than a modern unit. That is not a feature any salesman will put on a spec sheet, but it is the feature that matters. The gas range. The gas range is where the appliance industry's obsession with electronics has committed its most obvious crime. Because fire is fire. Gas is gas. The combustion of methane to generate heat has not changed since we discovered it. And yet somehow manufacturers have found a way to make a gas stove breakable. Walk into any appliance store and look at the gas ranges on display. Every single one of them has a digital control panel. They have programmable timers, automatic ignition systems wired to a central control board, and self-cleaning cycles that require the oven to lock itself in heat to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. We have already documented what that self-clean cycle does to the control board that is mounted directly behind the oven vent. It kills it. The thermal cycling cracks the solder joints. The replacement board costs $350. And that is if the manufacturer still makes it. The gas range you want was built before digital controls became standard, which means you are looking for units made before approximately 1995. A late 1980s Roper or tap-in gas range with mechanical burner knobs and a pilot light ignition system is an almost indestructible machine. There is no circuit board, there is no igniter module to replace. You turn the knob, gas flows, and the flame lights. If a burner stops working, a plumber can fix it in 30 minutes for the cost of a rubber gasket. The cast iron grates on these older machines are also superior. Modern grates are lightweight coated steel that stains and chips. The old grates are solid cast iron. You can abuse them, clean them with steel wool, and they last indefinitely. Find one of these ranges for $100 to $200, and you will never think about your stove again. The dishwasher. We have already told you the story of the modern dishwasher. How energy regulations gutted the motor, how manufacturers removed the food disposal unit and replaced it with a filter you have to clean by hand. How a machine that used to run a 45-minute cycle and clean every dish now takes 3.5 hours and still leaves food residue on the glasses. But the used case for the dishwasher goes even deeper than performance. It goes to the question of what a 20-year-old machine is actually worth in material terms versus what a new one costs. Dishwashers manufactured in the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s were built with stainless steel tubs, heavy-duty pump motors, and mechanical timer systems. The spray arms were made of metal, not the brittle plastic that snaps when you accidentally knock them with a pot. The door latch was a mechanical assembly that clicked into place with the satisfying firmness of a quality component. When the pump seal wore out, a repair technician could replace it in an afternoon. Look for Bosch models made before 2000, Maytag Jet Clean units from the 1990s, and older KitchenAid dishwashers made when KitchenAid was still a standalone company with an independent manufacturing standard. These machines are available everywhere because people throw them out during kitchen renovations without ever questioning whether they actually work. Before you buy, run a test cycle and check 3 things. Does the pump drain completely? Do the spray arms spin freely without obstruction? Is there any visible rust on the interior tub walls? If those 3 checks pass, you have found a machine worth owning. These units clean dishes better than anything new on the market today, and they do it in under an hour. The refrigerator. We save the refrigerator for last because it is the most important and because it is where the used versus new argument is the most financially dramatic. We have already exposed the linear compressor scam. We have already documented how LG and their subsidiary brands engineered a fatal flaw into the most critical appliance in your home. A compressor that cannot lubricate itself. A compressor that, when it fails, sends metal shavings into the cooling lines and totals the entire machine. We have documented the ice maker moved from the freezer into the refrigerator compartment in violation of basic thermodynamics. We have documented the touchscreens, the Wi-Fi modules, and the cameras mounted inside the door. Every one of those features is a failure point waiting to activate. The refrigerator you want is the one with a single compressor, a top or bottom freezer configuration, a mechanical thermostat, and no ice maker. You want a unit made before 2000, ideally before 1995. The compressor on these machines is a standard rotary unit sitting in an oil bath. It is loud compared to a modern unit. It uses slightly more electricity, but it will run for 40 years, and when it eventually fails, a technician can replace the compressor for $200. The brands to look for are older Amana top freezer units, Whirlpool models made before 2000, And the legendary Frigidaire units from the 1980s with the rounded corners and the mechanical dial. These machines are available at estate sales and on secondhand marketplaces for $50 to $150. They are being given away by people who want stainless steel and a touchscreen. Let them have it. Let them have the machine that will be dead in 5 years. You take the ugly white bombas that will outlive the house it sits in. The verdict. Here is what every appliance manufacturer, every big box store, and every financing company does not want you to understand. The used appliance market is not a consolation prize for people who cannot afford new. It is a rational economic strategy for people who understand that modern manufacturing has reversed the relationship between price and quality. The machines being sold today at premium prices are engineered to fail on a schedule. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is the documented result of sealed bearings, nylon gears, and circuit boards mounted next to heat sources. It is the result of energy regulations that gutted motor performance and corporate consolidation that eliminated every competitor who refused to cut corners. The machines sitting in garages, basements, and estate sales across this country were built during a different era. An era when a manufacturer's reputation depended on how long the machine lasted, not how many units they pushed through the factory in a single quarter. Those machines were built with steel, with cast iron, with mechanical systems that any competent technician can diagnose and repair. When you buy a used dryer for $75 instead of a new one for $800, you are not making a compromise. You are opting out of a system designed to extract money from you on a 5-year cycle. When you find a 1988 KitchenAid mixer at an estate sale for $60, you are not buying junk. You are buying the superior version of a product that a corporation has since hollowed out. The philosophy is simple. Stop paying a premium for a machine that is worse than the one it replaced. Stop letting marketing departments convince you that digital controls and Wi-Fi connectivity make your refrigerator more reliable. Stop buying new appliances that will be in a landfill before your children finish high school. Go to the estate sales. Go to the secondhand marketplaces. Learn the model numbers. Plug them in. Listen to the compressor. Feel the weight of the steel. Because the most expensive appliance in your home is not the one that costs the most. It is the one you have to keep replacing. Buy the iron. Buy the steel. Buy the machine that was built before planned obsolescence became a business model.